Hi, and welcome to the Flute Talk podcast, where we talk about all things flute, live here on Patreon. What is Patreon? Patreon is a place for fans like you to come and support creators like us. So why not join us over on Patreon and help us continue to make great content? The Flute Talk podcast is also brought to you by the Flute Center of New York. The Flute Center of New York has the world's largest selection of flutes. If you need to buy a flute or piccolo, the Flute Center of New York has you covered. With our code TFC at checkout, you can try up to 3 to 4 flutes for up to 10 days, have an extended 18-month warranty, and free shipping worldwide. So be sure to go to the website flutes4sale.com. So that's flute4sale.com. flutesforsale.com. Just be sure to use that code TFC for all those perks, and a little bit of that does go our way. Another sponsor is, well, ourselves. We have a store. If you haven't noticed yet, we have a store over at store.theflutechannel.com. We have some shirts and posters and things like that over at Teespring. So you can definitely go there and get some merch, posters, whatever you like that we have. It will be there. You'll probably notice it under our videos. If you're interested, be sure to go to store.theflutechannel.com. That helps us out immensely. So yeah, on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Flute Talk podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Amelie.
And so we got some questions for the podcast today. We're going to start with Weenie Hut Jr. These names on YouTube, I guess. What are some efficient ways to practice playing the flute without skipping over important lessons to improve? I started practicing my flute again and don't know where to start to get better since I've already learned the basics. Yeah, we get this a lot, for sure. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so first, the introduction was a bit fast, but we're live on YouTube.
Of course.
So you can leave questions, and we'll also answer live. So, yeah, you've just picked up the flute after playing and you stopped. Now you're starting again. You don't know what to work on.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. It's a bit, it can depend. Some people will have to work on their sound or on their technique or on blowing in a continuous way. Some people have to work on their posture. Like, I haven't seen you, so it's difficult to say. But when you say you've already learned the basics, I would say that, in my opinion, there's almost only the basics. You know, it's just the level of mastery of the basics that you have. Do you understand do you agree with me?
Yeah, Nika? Yeah, totally. Totally makes sense.
Yeah, there's not that much to it, playing the flute, you know? You blow constantly. You know, you keep a certain stability in your embouchure throughout registers. And you try to keep your head in line, not have a forward head, those types of things. And then you move your fingers. If your posture is good, you don't hold the flute with your fingers so that your fingers are able to move freely. Like, those are the basics. And then it's about the level of mastery of those basics and how stable you are, you know, at always getting a good sound and all that stuff. But to say exactly what you would have to work on, it's difficult if I haven't heard you. But that's the best answer I can give. Do you have anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. Like, that's, yeah, it really comes down to that. The basics are kind of things you always go back to all the time throughout your whole entire, like, musical journey or career, for sure. You have a lot of videos about different things to kind of refresh your outlook on a lot of different topics. So it's definitely something to go and look at for sure. Teresa Lau, she wants to know, and there's a couple little questions here. She's a little bit lost on her musical journey, and she wants to know where she lives. Trinity and ABRSM diplomas are there in their area. Which one is more recognized? And also, if I want to teach in the future, do I have to take a teaching diploma? I want to take the performing one instead. Do people still teach with their performance diploma? and hope to hear from you soon.
Okay. I'm not an expert on those degrees, ABRSM, Trinity, like.
Those are conservatories like RCM.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know they exist, but I don't know which one's more recognized. Do you know?
I wouldn't say like one or the other. If you go by numbers, like I think ABRSM might be the most used worldwide,
Okay.
but like in North America, it's RCM. RCM gets a lot of recognition because in universities in the United States, there really isn't like a conservatory collectively. There's a lot of different schools that kind of reference from all the other three major programs, which are RCM, the Royal Conservatory, both the Canadian, and I think there is an RCM British, unless that is ABRSM. I'm not
Because
entirely
those
certain.
degrees are, they're interesting. They're a good alternative, I guess, to going to college or university.
Yeah,
Or
they're very structured, so it's based off of like lists and stuff like that, as opposed to universities, which are developed by, or the curriculum is developed by individual teachers.
yeah.
So
And also, I think you also have like history and ear training and theory in those degrees as well. So it's pretty full, you know? Yeah. So I guess maybe you said ABRSM is more used, so maybe it's more known. So if
Right.
you want to use it in your resume for teaching, maybe you should do this
Right.
one, I guess.
yeah, and I wouldn't worry too much if like you're gonna eventually move away from your region. Say you move to another country, they'll still recognize that because you've done the work. Like those programs are well recognized, all of them. They've gone past that threshold of being around for such a long time and being, efficient at that. And
Yeah.
well,
Anyways, if you're teaching privately, it's mostly for, let's say you're doing an ad, or your marketing, you put your degree in there.
yeah,
So it's not like, as long as you have something that kind of proves to your students that
Yeah.
you've been through a certain level, I don't think it's
either
a big
will
deal.
be either will be impressive for sure.
Yeah.
It's just
Maybe
that's a good
whatever
point.
suits you best. And
There
then,
you go.
should you do teaching or only performance? I think a lot of people teach with only performance.
Yeah,
It might be interesting to do teaching because teaching is a thing in itself. I don't know how good those degrees are. I didn't do them, but I have studied both performance and teaching, and they are different things. And if you only teach the way you've been taught, it becomes a bit thin, as a teaching experience.
yeah,
So I think it's a good idea to maybe do the degree in teaching or read a couple of books about teaching or
right.
just open your mind to different things, because you don't want to just, other people don't necessarily have the same experience as yours. So just using your own experience to become a teacher. Yeah, but you can also learn with experience too. With time you get better at it, and
Exactly. Yeah.
it's a whole, you have to see, what you'll get from it.
Exactly. To go back, I think back to the first question in the live chat, we have Alicia Rogers. She wants to know, she's put her flute down for a long time, almost 15 years, and she's having a hard time remembering the major scales. Besides what you just said about basics, like, do you have any tips about remembering your scales?
Okay.
I guess
Well,
that means you can let me know in
Major
the chat.
scales are always based on the same sequence of tone and semitones. It's tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So that's the first thing you need to know. And then some scales have sharps, some scales have flats. You should know the order of sharps and flats by heart. And then there's a trick to know them, like if you're in G major, you have F sharp. You take the order of sharps, and the last sharp, you go up one semitone, you get to your tonic of your scale, which is the first note or the name of the scale. So that's for sharps. And then for flats, it's you take the name of the scale and you add one flat to the order of flats. But I'm pretty sure, like, if you get your scales, you'll see it, Maybe I should make a video about that, about how to, know that by heart.
Totally.
Yeah, because that's a bit short of an explanation, but I think I could do better with a couple of minute video.
Totally.
But also, like when you practice your scales, maybe don't try to practice all 12 at once, learn one a week or one for 2-3 days and then go to the next one. And then once you know all of them, then you can maybe go from one to the other faster. Don't try to cram your head with all of them at once. That might help as well.
Totally. Tika wants to know, what can I do to improve my breathing capacity? I can barely sustain more than 5 measures right now. Well, depends on what those measures are, but yeah. You mean maybe 5 measures is still quite long if they're long legato or slow stuff. It depends on the tempo and stuff.
Yeah, it can be quite long.
Yeah.
So you want to increase your breathing. So there are 2 things that you can work on. Either take more air in or lose less air. So maybe you have to check both ends of that. We have a couple of videos about breathing and also about air management. What should I say? Sometimes I see people who still have air, but they don't push out all their air because they feel uncomfortable. Like it's a feeling of, I need more air in, but you don't really do. So there's that. To practice that, you can take a breath in and hold it for 20 seconds and practice that a couple of times a day. That teaches your body not to breathe so often. And then for the other thing, taking more air in, you can use a trick Hawaii, which uses all 3 levels of breathing. So the belly and then the ribs and then the chest. So Hawaii. So you take more air in. You can also, if you don't have a lot of time to breathe in, push out your belly. That kind of makes space and helps. Keep your throat open when you breathe in. And also, you don't have to open your mouth too much when you breathe in. Sometimes we lose a lot of time opening our mouth a lot. So there's that. If you don't open your mouth, sometimes you can take very, very discreet breaths in short amount of time. So that can help. And then see if you lose a lot of air when you blow out. And maybe adjust your dynamics or all types of things like that. It's a whole management of your air budget.
Yeah, there you go. So hopefully it helps. Yeah, I agree with that. That's pretty interesting. Like you said, that we have a big video about that we did a couple weeks ago about breathing and 3D breathing and like how to breathe longer. And it's really systematic. So you can just start with just the beginning and just build on that and then go on the second part of the video. Then the third part of the video, you can really use
there's
that.
Different exercises. Yeah.
Exactly. Breathe the vanilla wafer wants to know, how do I know if I have an airy key? I think I may have one, but don't quite know what it sounds like. Well, I think like personally, like if you think you have an airy flute or an airy tone hole, you probably do. So you should probably bring it to your technician just to check, because there's really no telltale signs besides like having that feeling like, oh, the flute's not sealing properly, I should go bring it. And there's really no way else to kind of fix it besides giving it to a technician, unless you know how, because like some people, they use cigarette paper to fix that, but really it's not for that. It's really for getting rid of moisture and all that type of things like that. So I don't know, what do you think? That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. If you have a doubt, you're probably right, and you should bring it. Anyways, you should bring it pretty much every year just to check, make sure everything's okay. If you wait too long, sometimes things get misadjusted even more, and then it might cost you more in the end.
Oh yeah.
So it's better to just have it in your budget to keep your flute in shape.
Exactly. Andrea Parker, she wants to know, I play flute too, but I have a problem that I'm having a hard time fixing. When I first start playing a note, the note sounds airy, then becomes more clear. How do I fix this so the notes sound clear all the way through? Like at the beginning.
So when she plays, the sound's not good, and when she attacks the note, it's not good right away, and then it becomes better. That's it?
It gets clearer, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so that can be 2 things. Either your air support is not there from the beginning, or your embouchure is not stable from the beginning. So either when you attack, maybe when you breathe in, you move your mouth a lot, and then it takes time for your lips to get back in place. So maybe just make sure that you have kind of a mask. Like when you play and the sound is good, maybe check in the mirror and try also to feel like the physical memory of how it feels when the sound is good, then try to place yourself like that and then attack the note like that. It's really just an awareness thing. Because your sound is good, so you know how to do it. You just have to start the note like that. When you start a note, make sure the air is already ready behind. So sometimes I'm like this. I breathe in. All my air is ready. The air pressure is built up in the back. My tongue is there, and then I just release the tongue, and the air comes out. Everything's already there. The embouchure is already placed. I think it's a very simple thing like that, that if you're practicing with awareness, looking at yourself in the mirror, trying to remember the feeling and get it right from the beginning, you can deal with that pretty easily.
There you go. Yeah, I agree. Montalegre Louis, he says, I'm 24, I'm a beginner. Is there still time for me to become a professional, or is it impossible and I'm out of time now? I don't think so. Like, I knew somebody who started at 30 and was able to be successful or have a okay, career playing in an orchestra, little orchestra and stuff like that. Like, you can start at any age with music, I think.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the instrument. Like,
yeah. Plus, like, it all depends what you want to do.
Yes.
Because creativity has no age. There's not only we tend to think as like classical flutists that the only way is to be virtuoso, playing in an orchestra, doing auditions, and then winning it, and then your life is set. Like,
yeah, being a virtuoso at 11 and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like there's so many ways to be a musician and to be creative, and you can get to a very good level. And if you're creative, you can totally make amazing things in music at any age.
Yeah.
And there's not only one path.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't get too frazzled by all the stuff that's online or what people say about specific things. You have to be X this to become Y that, or any of those formulas don't exist in the creative fields. And when you listen to people, a lot of people have very different stories from each other and different ways of success.
Because we're told that success is this one thing, but we have to widen our
equation.
Widen our perspective on that.
There you go. Yeah. Sorry, I'm pronouncing this probably very badly. Sabrio Giotti Das wants to know, which flute is the best for beginner and how do I start without a teacher? Good combo question. We probably know what the other one is. The other question answer is our method is a really helpful method that you can use. But for flutes, like...
So the method, you can find it on musigy.com.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's very gradual and...
Yeah, it's a great book, and it has videos, and it's a PDF, and you can also get the physical too. And that's really structured, and that can be a very helpful tool. But if, like, say you really have fallen in love with the flute before you even wanted to learn it, but you really are desiring to go forward, I would really encourage, getting a good flute, a decent flute, a decent, good student flute, maybe not that budget $100 flute that we always say for people who are just curious about the flute and just want to kind of do it for fun, unstructured and all that stuff. We have a lot of flutes from like the Flute Center of New York that you can try out. Trevor James, Yamaha. There's a lot of good beginner brands, even Powell, Sonare, there's Haynes, there's Gemeinhardt. We're very unbiased on which ones, so that's why you go and try those out there. And we have a lot of information about how you can get to try 3 to 4 flutes in the description using our code TFC with them. And you go to flutecenter.com now. I think it's now flutecenter.com instead of Flute Center of New York, but I think they both still go to the same site. So you can also call them and mention our code, and they're all flutists there. So, there's a lot of good beginner flutes.
Yeah, and when you use our code, it helps us out. So thanks everyone who has been using it. Yeah. And the other question before about starting at 24 and all that made me think about Lizzo. I'm not a expert on her. Like, I don't know her that much, and but like, I know her, everyone knows her. And like, the reason why she has a cool career right now is because she's creative. She could have went in the path of auditions and stuff like that. I don't even know if she's a virtuoso or anything like that. Who cares in a way? She does her own thing. She's known for it. she has a cool career.
Yeah,
Just
she's
saying,
a-
you know,
yeah.
there's different
Yeah.
paths.
Yeah, and she's like a singer-songwriter, and like she apprenticed with Prince. You know, she lived there in Minnesota or wherever Prince was, and worked with him and stuff like that. So you know, there's so many different routes, and like it's not just being a flute; it's just being creative. You know,
Yeah.
just being applying your creativity to whatever fields, multiple fields. You know, like writing this and that. It all goes in together. She's a pretty good role model for that to kind of understand. Like, oh, there's so many things you can do. You know, for sure. Good point. This goes back, I think, to another question about making sounds on the flute. Imar Kuedif, sorry if I'm pronouncing these names wrong. I have trouble making sounds on certain notes on my flute. Is there a problem coming from my flute? Hard to tell, hard to say without seeing you, I think, right?
Yeah, but if it's only certain notes,
Mhm.
like if it's, let's say, two
Oh.
notes next to each other.
Yes, I see. Yeah.
If it's two notes next to each other and one doesn't come out, then it's probably the flute. If it's only like, let's say, you can play well in the low register but not in the high register, then maybe it's the way you're playing. That would be my guess. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good viewpoint on that for sure. Like, I would say, like, if they're in between notes, say you go like G is fine, then F isn't, or no, G is fine, F isn't, E is fine, then isn't. Like, it's really like it could be like several different problems. So then in that case, really, if the homogeneity, sorry, I'm pronouncing it wrong, like if you can't, wherever the problem is, if it's like multiple spots, then really it's probably something you have to go and bring to a technician. If it's just one spot, it could be just like maybe there's a little bit of moisture while you're playing. There could be something going on. But like, yeah, at that case, like you have to kind of look at it. But like, it's about
But
having
usually, I would say
smoothness.
anyway, bring it to a technician,
Yeah.
because worst case, they'll say your flute's fine.
Yeah, and there's a lot of resources out there. I know Straubinger Flutes has a list of all their technicians and by country too. So there's lots of countries, almost all of them. Some of them are not. Like recently we had somebody from Iran who wanted to know if there was a flute place and it wasn't on that list. And we found out through a person on Twitter, on Instagram, who runs the Iranian Flute Association, and they have a flute repair technician in their country, and I gave the reference to there. So the information is a lot out there. Look for flute associations or even music associations in your own country. And even on Instagram,
Or
because
your
they have
state,
or your
or your
state or whatever.
city,
Yeah, but I usually reference to the Straubinger list, which is
Okay.
a flute company, and it's a very diverse list, and they're all the best technicians. I honestly think a lot of those people on that list, 99%, are all the best technicians for flute in the world. So you can go there and they'll know right away. And usually they're little problems, unless you've had a flute that hasn't been repaired ever. Then you're gonna probably invest a lot right away. But yeah, that's a bit for that. Arno, I won't pronounce the other part of his name because I'm just brutalizing these. I play on a wooden flute, a Hoffinger, and I love my sound. Do you have wooden flutes, and what do you think about wooden flutes? Greeting from the Netherlands. Oh, the Netherlands, that's amazing. Well, we only have like the piccolo is wooden,
Yeah.
but we don't have any wooden head joints.
No, flute. But I
Or
would
wooden
love
flute.
to.
Oh, you have a
have
wooden
one.
like Baroque flute, I guess.
Yeah, but it's completely different.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't play it so well. So
Yeah, we're looking into that. I know
Yeah.
for wooden head joints. If you're a wooden head joint maker, let us know. Maybe we'll invest in that because we're looking.
Yeah, because like I would like to have one. I don't think I would get the whole flute. I think with
Right.
a head joint I could get a pretty
Mhm.
good difference in sound already for
Mhm.
cheaper than changing the whole flute.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's beautiful. I've tried some and
Mhm.
they're nice. I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're a bit thicker, so it's a different feeling, huh?
Yeah. It just depends on what type of tone hole there is, right? Like if some wooden
No,
head
but
joint
I mean,
makers
like
make
the
a.
outside.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get
Okay.
to. Is like a lot of them. Sometimes when it's built, sometimes they build a riser on top, like how we traditionally see a flute. They put that mouthpiece there so they don't have to thicken the wall as much. And then there are a lot of others that make it within the bore. So then that has to be as thick because that's the riser. You know, the thickness is the riser inside the head joint. So and then the metal part. So There's two different ways of kind of making it, and yeah.
But even like the feeling of holding it,
Oh,
when
yeah.
it's the whole flute, it's different.
Oh yeah, it's way different because you have like the weight, the smoothness, the texture, all those things are different.
The diameter.
The diameter of the it's going to be larger, so it's not going to match. It's very rare that they all match the same diameter and bore as the rest of your flute. That doesn't necessarily make any.
The whole flute.
Yeah, the whole
like
flute.
That.
Yeah. When you have a whole flute like that, then everything
it's
is
just, I
bigger.
guess, when you change often.
Oh
it
yeah.
must be a completely different feeling of holding it
right.
when you have the whole flute.
Exactly, because the keys and mechanism are all spread out more and built a bit bigger and differently.
Okay.
Just a little bit from what I've noticed.
Oh, that's
but
cool.
That's
but
cool.
It sounds amazing.
Oh yeah, those are good flutes.
Beautiful.
And
it's
there's
more warm, I guess. Less brilliant, like less shiny, but more warm.
Right, exactly. To go back to that lady or man or woman, I don't know. Sorry about the flute making certain sounds, certain flutes. It's GNF. So yeah, GNF. They're right next to each other. So yeah, you should really go and take it to
it's probably the flute.
Yeah, it's probably the flute. So you should really take it to a technician. They'll
There's
be able
a lot
to fix
of
that.
keys in that area that can get.
Those are trouble areas because those are that's the conjoining of the two fingers, right? So you're going to be doing a lot of movement there a lot. So that's usually typical. And just to kind of talk about like repair and technicians and stuff like that, and just flute general wear and tear. A flute wears down, just like any other instrument. You're not going to be able to, even if you don't play on it often, it's going to eventually wear out. So you have to, it's not delaying the inevitable. Like you still have to bring it to a technician. And, bringing it every year just to be looked at is a worthwhile investment. If you're even if it's a student flute or even a budget flute or any flute really, just be sure to bring it there. They can guide you to make it a more solid all-around tube and make it sound good. There's somebody is from Iran. That's so cool. Yeah, we have a lot of people from Iran, which is really amazing. And even the Flute Association there is really cool. You should check out their.
The flute is popular in Iran?
Yeah, I think so.
Classical flute?
I guess so. Or I think maybe it's both. Maybe
the ney?
A lot of the ney and all those things. Maybe
ney is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's completely different though, huh? To play
yes.
You play on you don't play on the tip of your fingers, and there's a membrane that vibrates. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know somebody has built. I know 2 or 3 flute makers have built a silver head joint with a hole with a membrane, so you can make it more ney sound. Like they drilled a hole in a specific spot of the flute. And they put a piece of like saran wrap and a little bit of tape, and then and it makes that buzzing sound. And there's even one that's made more professionally that has like a latch
that you can put on your flute.
No, that's actually the head joint itself.
No, but the head joint you can put on your flute.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And then you sound like you're
bzz,
playing
bzz,
the ney.
bzz,
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So they have that. Yeah, it's Bricaldi or one of those Italian.
It's easier than learning another flute. You just change the head joint.
Yeah,
boom.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. We should answer his question. I'm sorry. I was just
nothing to be sorry about. Hi, I'm from Iran, and I've been playing the flute for 3 years. What should I do to improve my breathing? Can you help me? Like we were talking about that breathing video.
We have a couple of videos about breathing. I think you even made a playlist about breathing or
maybe
something. But there's at least 3 videos.
At least 3 videos
about
breathing on the channel.
The last one has exercises that you can do to improve it that could help a lot. So I would encourage you to look at that. Exactly.
Elizabeth Hollingsworth wants to know if your practicing technique is slow to fast with a metronome. If your practicing technique is slow to fast with a metronome, barely it's like that, but you run into a wall, what practice method would you recommend to get over that wall, other than like grit and like pushing more?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a really good question. Sorry I brutalized the question, but I think I understand.
Very good question. Last week, I think we released a video about how to practice. So how to practice tough passages or whatever. Our last video is about that, so
You
you
can
should
apply that with
check it
technique.
out.
It's so true. You can use it. That's probably what you're going to, huh? It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can work with different ways. So first of all, like even if you go faster and faster and faster, remember that once in a while you have to go back to slowness to bring back control. Because
Right.
when you try to go faster and faster and faster, after a while you tend to lose control, and slowness will bring you back that control. So alternate between fast and slow. That would be the first thing. Then there's so many cool ways to practice. You can change the rhythm. So you can go fast, like long, short, long, like da 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 da. Let's say you're practicing da 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 da. You could go da 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 da, and then da 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 da. You change the rhythm. Then you make the first note long and the three other short da 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 da, and then the opposite da 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 da. You know, so you have that. Then you can play like little sprints. So you play like one beat plus
Right.
one note,
Yeah.
da 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 dum,
Da 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 da.
da 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 dum, and then you can play 2 beats sprint, and then 3 beats sprint, and then okay, so there's that. And then what else did I say? I think it was pretty much like the best ways. You can also practice. If it's a thing going up, you can
Right.
practice going up and down, up and down, up and down. Don't always go fast, take your time, go fast. And also, sometimes you need to take a break from it, practice something else. Maybe take a break
Right.
for a full week or a full month and go back to it later when you're more calm towards
Exactly.
it. Sometimes the brain needs time, and you can't just cram things.
Yeah.
It takes years to build a technique.
Exactly. Thanks, Odyssey of Ascension. $100 in the
thank
super
you
chat.
so
Super
much,
nice.
Roxanne.
Thanks. Yeah.
So
Cool.
generous of
Very-
you.
Very
Thank
nice
you.
of you, for sure. That always helps us tremendously. I love that. Amina Johnson wants to know, yesterday, I just got my own flute for the first time and still trying to learn how to play. Any tips on what I should do?
Okay. If you're a real beginner, maybe get our method.
Yeah, that can help out. And plus, like, we have a great couple playlists about how to just start on the flute and learning from home. There's a couple playlists. If you go to our YouTube channel, go to the playlists. There's a bunch of like playlists in order, almost pretty much, that will guide you more and more. And start simple, and the method helps. Once you get through all those, you can jump onto our method and get that and run through the 15 lessons that are there. It guides you really gradually throughout the next couple weeks and months that you're going to be doing this.
Hopefully
for sure.
the second book will come in.
Yeah, it's going to be coming this year for sure, very soon, probably in the first quarter of this year. We're still going through a bunch of edits and stuff, but it's done. It's just we're just going to put everything together and then have
we
a
want it to be
nice
good,
product for
so-
you. So, and that's going to be, I think, 20 lessons or something like that, 20 intermediate
That's a
lessons. or
big
something.
one.
Yeah, there's a lot of lessons in this one. It's the biggest
I put
book.
so much in that.
So
Yeah.
that's going to be, for people who are, in the middle, people who are really just wanting to and coming back from the middle, people who we get a lot of people. And
That would be a good
large amount of
one
people
for coming
people
back,
coming
you
back,
know?
people who are coming back from 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, even some people, like
Yeah.
all age groups. It doesn't matter, go back into it. And what's great is that you can learn these core elements again and then apply them and increase your musical creativity. I know a lot of people who are also taking it and just learning flute and then learning Irish flute on the side and doing all types
Yeah.
of stuff like that. So it's a good little ecosystem.
And it's so cool. Like we've had flute teachers saying that they
Yep.
use our method with their
it's great.
students.
Now
So
it's
I was
happening
like,
a lot. So people are using your method in school programs in like Texas and in different places like that. That's where we've been getting requests to send books to them, which is really great.
yeah, that's very
We're
cool.
super, super happy about that.
Yeah,
And it's all because of you guys, you guys make this all possible, and it's really,
totally.
really amazing. Daniel Perez wants to know, I'm considering going to university to major in music performance on the flute. Is majoring in music a good way to go? What are your thoughts? Yeah, so you can talk about it first if you like.
I don't know. Like
I'm split about it, but
you're split about it.
yeah, I think like either way, like I think you can, if performance is your route, now there is a fork in the road saying, do you want to be more of a soloist or do you want to be more of a technician soloist, like playing in an orchestra and all those types of things? Or do you want a bit of both, or do you want both heavily in together? Like there's a lot of things to learn. that university won't prepare you for there, like as a business, like treating yourself as a business and putting yourself out there, making programs, making your own soloist stuff, because we now live in an age that you can do that all by yourself instead of having an agent, because having an agent, I can tell you, most people I know don't have an agent in the music world. So that's rare in my mind, but it is possible. And people still get gigs without them because people are hustling themselves. Like person like our colleague, the cellist, Natalie Spear, like she's a hustler. She's hustled her whole life to get gigs and do all those things that school kind of didn't prepare her for, really the real world and developing more and putting yourself out there.
But maybe her degree gives her credibility.
Yeah,
it's a
then
whole
there's
thing.
credibility. Yeah, exactly.
But like
yeah,
music, let's say you want to be a lawyer. You need to go and do your law degree and then get your bar, because those are professions that are protected by laws and stuff like that. They have
people have made these things to make it.
If you're an accountant, you also need the specific degree, or a doctor or
nurse, or whatever.
Musicians. Anyone could call themselves musicians.
Totally.
Even to be member of the union, you just have to pay your union fee, and you're member of the musicians union.
Yeah.
So, if you major in music, that's not something that's gonna give you a job.
Yeah.
Like a certainty of a job at all.
At all, yeah.
But if you want to meet other musicians, if you want to have a well-rounded musical education, and if you think that it's a good way to do it for yourself, then go for it. But don't think that it's going to necessarily bring you... Maybe it will, maybe it won't.
Right.
And there might be other ways to get there.
Yes.
And
totally.
I've been through that system.
Mm-hmm.
I've done performance, a bachelor's in performance, a master's in performance, and then another bachelor's in music education. So I've been in that system.
Yeah.
It was good for me, I think. I learned there. Other people learn differently, and they still get to the same place.
Point, yeah.
So you have to see what's best for you.
Yeah. I would say also, like, model yourself to the people like who are already successful and see what it takes to get to there. And if it's something that you're willing to do, do it. If not, find another course if you still want to do music, like, because the modeling yourself in front of somebody else, you get to understand really the amount of effort and work that needs to be done, which, like I said, doesn't necessarily need that degree. Like somebody like James Galway, who only did conservatory for 2 years, still got into the Berlin Phil at 18 or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, or 19 years old, like super young. Same thing with Bob Aiken or other countless musicians, like straight out of conservatory or just private lessons or whatever. But
I think Bob Aitken, when
17 Edmonton, I think.
Yeah, and he hadn't been in university
at all yet.
He went back. He left his job and went back later because he wanted to learn more about music in general and compose and all that stuff.
And meet more people and all those things that you were saying.
Yeah.
Totally.
So he went back. But it all depends, like, what type of experience are you looking for? What do you want to do with it? And like, don't be disappointed in if because it's not something that you get out
and you get employment.
You get employment.
No.
It doesn't work like that.
No.
It's not that simple.
Could
Orchestras are not thriving everywhere.
Right.
And there's a lot of flutists out there. So you have to just see what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
Are you more of entrepreneur type of person? Then maybe you minor in business, or maybe you want to also do your own YouTube channel and stuff. Maybe you minor in multimedia, or learn how to do montage. And
exactly.
Because like sometimes I feel. Here we don't really have major and minors in Quebec. It's really like you do a bachelor's in one thing. So I did music.
Yeah.
And I think it's good maybe to open it a little bit more, because if you know only music, like, and you don't know anything else, you don't know business, you don't know, then it's very small, you're...
Exactly. And like, I know in a lot of places they do double majors. So you can double major and do performance, or just do a music degree. Some people just do music education and still take their lessons. You still get 12 you still get 3 years of lessons out of 4, and so your performing ability is going to still increase. And then they do another major in like you said, multimedia, or they do English, or they do law, or something like that. You know, like some people I've noticed they've done that. It's crazy, but they do it, and they eventually then they get employment after. No matter what, they get that.
Yeah.
Because the whole audition world for music, to audition after school to get into an orchestra, is a whole in its as a whole environment in itself.
There was a
as well.
whole series of article in a newspaper here in Montreal a couple of months ago, I think. It was all like about artists who have a day job but are also very recognized artists in their fields. Like not amateurs at all. Like people who record, people who play in big concerts, like a guy who's a doctor in an emergency, but he also records as a pianist. He has like a PhD in piano and he's a doctor, whatever. There's people like that, but there's also people who are like working for the government and as a functionary, and also write books, or also
exactly
play concerts and go in all the big festivals in the world. And, you know, like, keep it open, check what's good for you. But, you know, yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes seeing, I think it's worth it when you're young and you're deciding what you want to do in life, maybe to see a career counselor, because it's a big investment. You know, and when people say, oh, you can always go back, well, sometimes it's not that easy to go back when you're older and you have obligations and stuff. So, take your time. But then
also,
after that, there's always ways to you know.
Yeah, and also
regroup.
a lot of people, exactly. And also a lot of people, going back to the, I think, second question we had at the beginning of the show, I think, about conservatories. Conservatories are a great side thing to do because you have a longer time to do things. There's not courses at like university where you have
like
throughout the day.
ABRSM and all
Trinity,
those things.
RCM. Those are great things to have that people do throughout their whole lives, and you don't have to do the testing that year if you don't feel comfortable. You can do it the next semester, the next time, and stuff like that, because you have university in another degree completely, and it's even cheaper sometimes, and it's less stressful because you want your creativity, I think, to not be hindered by stresses and time constraints and all those things. Personally, I feel that creativity, when that has hindrance, it can cause a little bit of problems and a lot of resistance. And university does that. It has deadlines. It has.
But sometimes you can meet people, and then it can help you in your career because you'll have projects with them. Like it's a whole.
And there's a whole.
There's good and bad.
There's good and bad
from everything. Yeah.
But also, like, just to finish that off, basically, is just like, also there's, as far as if you want to go deep into like finding people, there's also lots of community groups out there that are high level in your community. Sometimes you can find a high end little wind ensemble or people, and those are like huge amounts of people that want to interact and make music. There's even video game music orchestras now in different towns and stuff, which are really cool, that have not just 2 flute positions but maybe 8 because they need sound, you know. So there are ways outside. I'm just trying to say that there are things outside of that cocoon of university, that there is music beyond that exists, that you can enter in at any age, any time, because we're very welcoming people. People are very welcoming in the music world. And, you know, look at all the options outside of it as well can really open your eyes on specific things too. Yeah.
Yeah, there's different ways to get to where you want to be.
Exactly. So we have a few more minutes left. I think we have about 7 or 8 minutes left. So if you have any more questions, we'll definitely answer them. Marie-Audrey Talbot wants to know, my question may sound weird, but how do you practice with a metronome? When I do, I focus so much on the beat that I can't play. If I focus less on the beat, I can play, but then can't hear the metronome. It's like I can't listen to my playing and the metronome at the same time. Any tips? Very, very common thing.
Yeah, I see that a lot in students.
Yes.
Maybe put your metronome, don't play, sing the rhythm.
Oh,
you know, let's say you're
working
really on G major, you put your metronome and you go ta, 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 ta,
right.
ta, taka, 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 ta, you know. Start with that. Once you and if it's too hard, put it slower and slower and slower. until you can do it. You can even subdivide, and instead of putting your metronome per quarter note, you put it per eighth note. Yeah, I would start like that. And once you can do it just singing the rhythm or saying the rhythm,
Right.
then
There you go.
you
Yeah,
can
that can
add
help.
the flute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But be patient, you
Yeah,
know?
be
It won't be
patient.
just in a day. It
No,
will take a
no.
little bit of
Takes
time.
time. And I would add to that, maybe find a metronome that can do subdivisions, because then you have two different tones and it kind of makes you feel like, oh, I'm going to places. Like if you have, if you have one
I don't
on
like
one.
those.
I like them. I think they help with some people for sure. That's something that could maybe
But you can
help out.
also like put your metronome and you hear T, T, but you just tap one on two.
Yeah, tapping on
You
the
know?
foot. Yeah, you're a foot tapper
Ta,
type of person.
Ta,
Yeah.
ta.
But
I
I mean,
think
some
it's
people
very
also-
good when you practice rhythm to tap something, either with
Totally.
your finger. You have to have the pulse somewhere in your body.
Right.
If the pulse is nowhere in your body, that's not gonna work.
100% for sure.
So the metronome is an outside thing, but you have to internalize that
Yeah,
thing.
the
If
subdivision.
not, like
Mm-hmm.
there is no point. Like rhythm is really a physical thing.
Yeah.
You have to feel it in your body.
Yeah.
The reason why I don't like the subdividing thing is that when students make a slight mistake,
Right.
it takes them a while to go back because they get all confused with the sound.
Yeah. But wouldn't you say that doing the internalization is also a form of subdivision as well?
It is, but it's you're doing it yourself,
Mm.
so it's easier to
Okay.
get back
Right.
when you make a mistake.
Totally.
But that's my own thing.
I see.
Maybe because I never really used them. I just, let's say I would group by 2 or by 3.
Yeah,
but do
the
it.
grouping is great.
Yeah.
Grouping is always, it's just another way of this,
Grouping
like
and subdividing are
silent
kind of the
subdivision.
same
Yeah,
thing.
they are. That's what I'm
They're
saying.
two
Yeah.
faces of the coin.
Exactly. Just whether you want to use a machine or use your
Your
AI
body.
brain machine.
Yeah.
Whether of those two things. Okay, what else do we got here? Somebody one person looked at the ABRSM stuff and it reminded them more of a martial arts belt
Yeah.
thing. And it is. It's basically something like that. That's such a good point. It's so true. Like it's just a system, you know, that you go through and there's testings and stuff like that.
You
It's
don't
just
even need that.
no. There's some people that just learned on their own and learned through private lessons, like the art of private lesson. Before 100 years or 200 years, before the first conservatories were really kind of around, people were just taking private lessons. And I think even conservatories like the Mozarteum and stuff were really for the rich. You know,
Oh, yeah?
back it was not a thing for like the public. Like it was
Well,
still
just
expensive.
having, like, even here, like they say, oh, conservatories here in Quebec, it's very cheap, and like
Sure.
it gives people from any background an opportunity to play. I'm sorry,
Right.
that is not true, because you need to at least have an instrument. Not everyone, like, it's not true that every people from every background, like even in France, I think it's free, but you still have to have a minimum level to get accepted. So it means you had private lessons before you bought an instrument. Like, yeah. So it's never completely accessible to everyone the way they want
Yeah.
it to sound like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like if you have something like El Sistema, then yes, it is accessible
Yeah.
to everyone.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
because that system got so much notoriety because it was one of the first things like that. You
Yeah,
know?
but it's also amazing because it is.
It is
a
amazing.
real-
That's what I mean. That's why it got its notoriety.
It is
That's
really
amazing.
opening it to everyone. Or
That's what
if
I'm
you have
saying, like-
music in public schools, that's really
Yeah,
open to
yeah, yeah.
everyone. But conservatories,
It's just
I'm
it's
sorry.
taken a long time to get to that. It's just what I'm
It's-
saying. Like it's been a long
yeah.
time of that type of stuff and
Yeah.
being so. You know, be mindful about what the systems are. Like you said, they have a lot of positives, a lot of good positives in those things. But also look
It's
for
all about
teachers.
each person has to find their own way. But
Right.
anyways, those programs, usually you find a teacher outside and then you just go for the exams.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, Chick Corea doesn't like using a metronome. That's
it's
funny.
also okay.
Yeah, it's okay too. Like
My
hey, man,
piano teacher,
you're
when
all
I was a
good.
teenager, didn't like metronomes because she thought it would just externalize your rhythm, and she
Yes.
wanted us to have it inside of our bodies. I'm in the middle. I think it's a good tool in general. Some students don't like it so much. Sometimes I don't. If their rhythm is pretty good, I don't necessarily push them that hard
Right.
on it. Like it,
Yeah.
yeah, it all depends.
Normalized orchestra auditions can make people very sad. Yes, they can, but they can also make people very happy. You know, like learning excerpts are fun. Like and playing with
Yeah.
recordings. I love playing orchestra excerpts with recordings and just playing parts, like full parts and stuff. Sometimes that's super fun to do. Like
Yeah, but like if there's one place
yeah,
in the
yeah,
orchestra
be
and
realistic.
20
Yeah,
people are
auditioning.
auditioning, 90
Yeah,
people are going to be sad.
yeah,
That's math.
that's math. Yeah,
So,
you know,
yeah, but
yeah,
maybe it's there's two things. Like if you do it, you kind of have to be ready for that. Maybe it's also the mindset. If you do it thinking, oh, I'm going to practice these, I'm going to learn them.
Totally.
It's going to be part of my knowledge, and no matter what happens, I still want something because I learned something out of it. Then it's good. And you can also be like, I don't want to do them anymore. Like I've decided at one point that I was not interested in doing those anymore. No. I didn't want to put energy into it.
Yeah.
And it's also okay. Like
you still was able to play solo or with an orchestra, you know, you still able to do
I won a couple of auditions because I did play with some orchestras. It's all good. Like, but after a while I was like, I don't want to put my energy in this because it's not what I want. Like everyone has to find what makes them happy.
Exactly.
And sometimes something that made you happy for 10 years, maybe after a while doesn't make you happy anymore. You can also change.
Yeah. M. Patterson wants to know, hi, Amelie, how can taking big breaths... Oh, how can I take big breaths when I play flute? I've been playing for 3 years and I still struggle with taking big enough breaths to play.
Check our videos about breathing.
Yeah, there's also like kind of to add. Check the videos, but I would like to add like a lot of people have learned how to kind of breathe in fast and fill up quick, and like there's a lot of things like with the whole thing, like I think like they do the whole and feeling like.
Why would you put your finger in front of the hole? It blocks it.
No, it's just to breathe in, just to cause resistance, just to get that feeling that you're breathing in a lot is what I was kind of getting to.
Okay.
And then...
Because you get the sound?
You get that sound just to know that, you're hearing something, and then you breathe out so you can really get that sensation of being filled with air. I've seen help with developing bigger breaths, like developing, I guess, feeling... more full, because the body knows how to fill up its lungs. We're engineered to take in oxygen, and I think to be able to, I think maybe we overthink it when we breathe when we're playing. Sometimes, like something like this question kind of brings to the point that maybe just focusing on just one element at a time first in order to kind of increase your breathing more. I don't know, but beyond the videos, you have to look at the videos. Look at the videos.
The videos
first
have a lot.
Well.
I think sometimes you're right. People want to breathe too fast.
Yeah.
And it's funny because time, it's something a bit elusive, Well,
it's something something we've created.
Yeah. In my life, time is something that I don't get all the time. Because whenever I breathe and I try to breathe fast, my throat closes and I have very inefficient breathing. And then I realized I could breathe in an accelerando, like breathe slow in the beginning of the breath and then faster at the end of the breath. So, I start I start slow, and it doesn't even take more time. And that's so weird. It feels like I have more time, but when I play and I do it, I don't need more time. In fact, I think I'm even taking less time than when I was trying to hurry. It's like when you're late and you start panicking, and then you try to go fast, but you're panicking so much that you go too slow, and then it takes twice as much time. I think sometimes we breathe like that when we play the flute.
Sure.
And we need to just think about breathing slowly. Open your throat and keep it open, like the body, so that it can expand. Don't try to push your shoulders down. Don't try to let everything relaxed enough so that it can open, that your chest can open, and also some teachers say breathe from the belly, but and then people forget that they have they have ribs. They have a rib cage that can
Mm-hmm.
also expand. And that's such an efficient way to breathe when you're trying to breathe fast. And also our arms are high, so the rib cage is open already. So just use it,
Yeah, the room is there.
And
you know.
your shoulder blades can also go away from each other and make space in your back. And because that's where your lungs are.
There you
They're
go.
high. Your lungs are not in your belly.
No, they're
your
up
lungs
here.
are
They're up in the,
super high.
Mm-hmm.
When your belly gets bigger when you breathe in, it's because the diaphragm is pushing your organs, but there's no air in your belly.
Mm-hmm.
You would die.
Yeah, anatomy. Just look at that. Just talk to somebody who knows a lot about anatomy. They'll be like, yeah, it's
you're putting air in your belly.
You're putting air in your belly. Okay, you would be dead. There would be problems. So
or you'd have gas.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe it's just the other type of air, gas air. Yeah, so I think that's it for the rest for today. Thanks for all the great questions. We do this at the last Sunday of every month. You can go and help us out on Patreon. If you find any of our stuff on YouTube or this show helpful, go on Patreon and give us a little tip. You can tip us every month so that it can help us make more content like this. As life is going to be rolling back on, we want to be able to do this more. So your generosity does help a lot, whether it's through Super Chat or whether it's through Patreon. So you can go to patreon.com/theflutechannel. And you can go and be our patron there. And there you can talk to us one-on-one with little comments. You can give us little questions, stuff, and we'll answer them. We'll do stuff like that. It's a nice little community there that we have that we're trying to grow more and more. So you can go there at patreon.com. And also we have our book on musicg.com. You can go and find that in the description. So musicg.com is where we have all of our sheet music. We have our Paganini transcription that you did for the Paganini 24th Caprice. And then there's also our books and methods, which include PDF and videos and MP3s all combined into one to teach 15 lessons, which is really cool. And also Flute Center of New York. If you're looking for a flute, go to theflutecenter.com or flutecenter.com and use our code TFC at checkout, or call them or email them and mention our code TFC, and you'll be able to try up to 3 to 4 flutes, have an extended warranty, I think of 18 months instead of 12. And you can try out the flutes for up to 10 days. Yeah. And we have all those types of things. And
did you talk about our T-shirts? And
no, and we have our merch store that was at the beginning of the show as well. If you watch the intro, we have our store.theflutechannel.com, where you can find our poster. Also, shirts, our long shirt, also Just Practicing shirt.
That's a cool shirt, the long shirt.
Yeah. We also have Mozart, the Mozart concerto leggings, and also I think there's even Mozart concerto shirt as well too that a bunch of people have bought into. It's a nice little shirt that has all the Mozart concerto. Yeah, the posters we've already mentioned, the flute fingering posters, both in black and also in like a colorful one. I think we're gonna put it on the wall somewhere soon if we have a remodel, so you guys can see it in our videos. And I think that's about everything. If we've missed anything, check everything in the description below. Also, if you guys are watching, please go and rate us over at Apple Podcasts. If you use an Apple device, go to your Apple Podcasts and find us there and rate us. That helps us tremendously, puts us more discoverable and all those types of things, and brings more people. We've noticed a lot of people, after people have made ratings, that the following couple weeks we get several dozen or even 100 people more over on podcasts. So this will be uploaded soon. But go and leave us a review there on Apple Podcasts, and that would be grateful to as well. So yeah, that's everything for this month, and we will see you guys at the end of February on the 28th. See ya.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Bye.